everybody, welcome back to the ByDinaMichele YouTube channel. It's your girl D here today to talk to you about some photography. I did just wrap up a shoot. That's the backdrop you see. I made it myself. It was a maternity shoot, super beautiful. Definitely going to share some of the photos with you all. And I'm here at Ground Up Experience Creative Agency, ran by my good friend Alyssa. She allows me to use the studio when I need to do shoots, and just a super dope woman. I'll put links to her information, but make sure you check her out. But yeah, that's where we are today, and we're going to be talking about some of the basics of photography. So something I think every photographer should know, and that's why we're starting here, because in the beginning of my channel, I just want to make sure we cover the basics because that's part of the point. And the main thing we're going to be talking about is exposure, which is how much light reaches your sensor or your film in your camera, your lens. And that's really important because this is the auto versus manual debate, right? And people say, you know, real photographers shoot manual, and I want to explain why people say that. Because shooting auto often is you getting lucky. You can definitely pay attention to light patterns and kind of shoot adjacent or however you need to there, but shooting auto is letting your tool make all the decisions for you. And if you bought a $4,000 camera, then you could have did that with any camera, right? As an artist, you want to be intentional. You want to have control over how your product is going to look, which is shooting manual. Shooting manual, we're talking about the exposure triangle, right? And there are three elements of the exposure triangle. You have ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Now, before I get too deep into that, yes, these are rules of photography. I'm a rule breaker. I get it. I'm not saying you have to shoot every single photo at the perfect exposure. And I definitely break the rules on purpose at times, especially with my boudoir. If I'm doing something real sexy or sensual, I'm underexposing a lot. That's done in camera. But to break the rules, you need to know them, and that's why we're here. So we're talking about exposure. In the triangle, we'll start with ISO. So ISO is how sensitive your sensor is to light. And so if it's really sensitive, when light hits it, it's going to be bright. Be careful going too bright, because if you raise ISO levels super high, just because it's nighttime and you're trying to get this like photo to your subject to actually show up, what you can get is grain or noise, and that's the staticky look on your photos. Like I said, if you're doing it artistically, one of my favorite shoots that another photographer did as a meme, they had a lot of grain in it. Cool, but if you're trying to get a clear, crisp portrait for a client, that's not what you want, right? And this is why the triangle is interchangeable, because there are other tools you can use to make sure you have a balanced photo that's still quality. So going from ISO, you'll be hitting aperture, and that is how wide or closed your lens opening is. And it's represented by f-stops, and there are values that start from 1.4, can go up to f22. A lot of things depend on the lens you actually buy, so that's just kind of a general range. But the f1/8, the f1.4, the f2, those values on that side of the spectrum, those are really perfect for portraits, because what they'll give you is a really crisp, clean subject. And I know a lot of people know, they think it's a good photo when they see the blurred out background, right? And that's an effect you can do in Photoshop, but a photographer knows how to do that in camera. And that is called depth of field, which is the range of acceptable focus. And so that's, of course, that's important in portraiture, because you're looking at a really clear subject with singular or minimal amount of people subject, and you won't focus on them, and it just gives that really elegant look that a lot of people go for. But when you're shooting landscape, or areas where you have to get a lot of information to be crisp, that's when you want to go to the f16, the f22, and that is a deep depth of field versus the shallow depth of field. That is a very deep depth of field that helps you get everything in focus in a very crisp way. Cool? Cool. So after those two, we have shutter speed, and that is literally how fast your curtain open and closes. Shutter speed is really fun to manipulate. The faster the curtain closes, obviously, the less light is let in. The slower it closes, the more light is let in. And a really good example of that is when you see those photos of those light trails of cars on the highway at night. Somebody has a very long exposure, a very slow shutter speed that is literally capturing that light trail. Fast shutter speeds can also be really great use for sports. Slow shutter speeds can as well if you want to get a trail of someone running. Like, you can literally manipulate it all in photography, which is why you need to know what it is and how to actually do it. But using these three things interchangeably, this helps you have full manual control over the product you're getting, and just makes you more of an intentional artist. And so that's the basis of the auto versus manual argument. Like, that's what people are talking about. And I just want to make sure that the people that are following me, they're aware of this, because a lot of photographers miss this starting out, especially when you're street taught or self-taught. But these factors put you ahead of the game, and really to be able to understand lighting, because then outside of this, lighting gets into a whole other range of external lighting, lighting patterns, etc. But this is the core base that as a photographer you need to know. And I also recommend that my models, or the people, my brand managers, my brand owners, my business owners, they understand this a little bit, because whether you're taking the photos, having the photos taken, or having your product taken photos of, when you're working with a photographer, if you're not liking how something's looking, or it's not your most flattering light, you can really understand or even communicate with them and go back and forth to get the product that you're ultimately trying to get. So that's the gist of this video today. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know how you feel about it, and definitely down below leave any comments of anything else you want me to talk about. I'm open to it all. I'm here for you, so that's the point of the channel. So thank you for tuning in today to spend some time with me, and I hope you all enjoy. Happy New Year, and enjoy the rest of your day. Remember to stay great. Bye.